The United States of America is $40 trillion in debt. 40 trillion. And most people hear that number and think, okay, that's a lot, but it's fine. It's America. They'll figure it out. No, they won't figure it out. Because the only reason that debt works, the only reason America can borrow $40 trillion and not collapse like Argentina or Zimbabwe is a system, a machine. And that machine has a name, the petrodollar. And right now, as we speak, Iran is taking that machine apart, not with tanks, not with nuclear weapons, with 33 kilometers of water. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Oil is past $110 a barrel, and everyone is talking about the military situation. But the military situation is the distraction. The real war is economic, and I'm going to explain exactly how it works. Okay? Let's start from the beginning. In 1944, the world was still at war, and the Americans, who knew they were going to win, gathered 44 countries in a small town in New Hampshire called Bretton Woods. The idea was elegant. Every currency in the world would be pegged to the US dollar, and the US dollar would be pegged to gold. America becomes the central bank of planet Earth. You want to trade internationally? You need dollars. You want dollars? You either sell things to America or you borrow from America. Either way, you're dependent. This system worked for almost 30 years. But then something happened. The French started asking for their gold back. Literally sent ships to pick it up. And the Americans realized they had a problem. They had printed far more dollars than they had gold to back them. So in 1971, Nixon did something that changed the trajectory of human civilization. He unlinked the dollar from gold. Just like that. The dollar was no longer backed by anything physical. And you need to understand what that means. Every other country that tried this, their currency collapsed. Hyperinflation, economic death. So why didn't the dollar collapse? This is the key question. And the answer is the most important geopolitical deal of the last century. Most people have never heard of it. In 1974, the Americans made a deal with Saudi Arabia. The terms were simple. You sell your oil only in dollars. Every barrel, every transaction. Dollars only. In exchange, we guarantee your military security. We send weapons, troops, bases. Nobody touches you. This deal spread to Kuwait, the Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, the entire Gulf. And suddenly, every country on earth that needed oil, which is every country on earth, needed dollars to buy it. So what do? They accumulate dollar reserves. And where do they invest those reserves? Back in the United States. Treasury bonds, stock market, real estate. You see the cycle? Oil forces, everyone to hold dollars. Dollars flow back into the American economy. The American economy funds the military. The military protects the oil. It's a loop, a self-reinforcing loop. And the United States can print as much money as it wants, run deficits as large as it wants, borrow $40 trillion because the entire world is forced to absorb those dollars. It's not an economy. It's a Ponzi scheme backed by aircraft carriers. Make sense? Now here's where it gets interesting. The 40 trillion debt isn't a bug. It's a feature. Because as long as the petrodollar cycle works, the debt doesn't matter. Countries have to buy dollars. They have to invest in American assets. The demand for dollars is artificial. It's created by the oil trade, not by the strength of the American economy. Remove that artificial demand, and the debt becomes real, very fast. And that is exactly what Iran is doing. Not by attacking the dollar directly, by attacking the cycle that keeps it alive. Okay? So how does Iran attack the cycle? 3 ways. And you need to understand all 3 because they work together. First, Hormuz, the obvious one. The Strait of Hormuz moves about 20% of the world's oil. Japan depends on it for 80% of its oil imports. South Korea for 70%. India for over 60%. When Hormuz closes, these countries can't get oil. Factories slow down. Transportation costs explode. And the price of oil goes vertical. We're at $110 now. Serious estimates say 200, maybe 300 if this continues. But here's what nobody's talking about. When oil prices spike, the petrodollar cycle doesn't just continue as normal at higher prices. It breaks. because countries that are paying $300 a barrel for oil start looking for alternatives. They start making deals in yuan, in rupees, in rubles. They start bypassing the dollar. And every barrel sold outside the dollar system is a crack in the foundation of that $40 trillion debt. Second way, Iran attacks the cycle. And this is the one that keeps me up at night, the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, financial domino, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar. These countries don't just sell oil in dollars. They invest hundreds of billions of those dollars back into the American financial system. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, the biggest companies in America, are partially funded by Gulf money. The Abu Dhabi Investment Authority alone manages over $900 billion. The Saudi Public Investment Fund is around $700 billion. Kuwait's Sovereign Wealth Fund, another $800 billion. We're talking trillions of dollars sitting in American stocks, bonds, and real estate. Now, what happens when those countries are under attack? Iran has already hit Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait. The rich are paying $250,000 just to get a seat on a plane out. Dubai, as a financial hub, dead. The image of security and stability that attracted all that money, gone. And it's not coming back. The Gulf states import 80 to 90% of their food. With Hormuz closed, Dubai runs out of food in about a week. These countries are going to need cash, desperately, to buy food on the black market, to rebuild infrastructure, to survive. And where's their cash? In American stocks. So they're going to be forced to liquidate. Not because they want to, because they have to eat. And when trillions of dollars start leaving the American stock market, what happens? The market crashes. And with it, the retirement savings of millions of Americans, the 401k plans, the pension funds. Iran doesn't need to attack New York to cause an American recession. It just needs to attack Dubai, right? This is what I mean by game theory. The system is interconnected. Pull one thread and the whole thing unravels. Third way, and this is the most abstract, but maybe the most important, confidence. Empire is a hallucination. I've said this before and I'll say it again because it's the most important concept in geopolitics. The American empire doesn't run on tanks and aircraft carriers. It runs on belief. The belief that America is invincible, that the dollar is safe, that American assets are the best place to park your money, that American military protection actually protects you. The moment people stop believing, it's over. And what's happening right now is a crisis of belief. The Gulf states trusted America to protect them. That was the deal from 1974. Oil and dollars, security guaranteed. And now their cities are being hit by Iranian drones. Their people are fleeing, their infrastructure is burning. And the American military, the most expensive military in human history, is struggling to stop $50,000 drones with $1 million missiles. The math doesn't work. They fire 2 to 3 THAAD interceptors per drone. $3 million to stop something that costs $50,000. And the Iranians produce 500 drones a day. They have around 80,000 in stock. You do the math. It's not sustainable. And every Gulf leader watching this is asking the same question. If America can't protect me, why am I selling my oil in dollars? Why am I investing my money in their market? Why am I part of this system? And here's the thing. Iran isn't alone in this. Russia and China are watching very carefully. Russia wants America stuck in the Middle East. Every dollar spent in the Persian Gulf is a dollar not going to Ukraine. Every soldier in the desert is a soldier not in Europe. Russia benefits from chaos. And China needs oil to survive. If America controls Iran and Iraq, America controls China's energy supply. So China is already making alternative deals, buying oil in yuan, building pipelines that bypass maritime choke points. The BRICS nations have been talking about a non-dollar trade system for years. This war just accelerated the timeline from decades to months, maybe weeks. And this is where the 40 trillion comes back. Because the debt only works if the cycle continues. If Gulf countries start selling oil in other currencies, if they start pulling money out of American markets. If Russia and China build a parallel financial system, the artificial demand that props up the entire American economic model disappears. And $40 trillion of debt becomes a time bomb. Interest payments alone are already over $1 trillion a year. That's more than the defense budget, more than Medicare, and that's at current interest rates. If confidence in the dollar drops and interest rates rise, the math becomes impossible. The US would have to choose between paying its debt and funding its military, between keeping the lights on at home and maintaining bases overseas. That's not a military defeat. That's something worse. That's the end of the system itself. Now, I want to be clear about something. Iran doesn't need to win militarily. That's the whole point. Iran can beat the United States in a conventional war. Everyone knows that. But Iran doesn't need to. Iran just needs to break the cycle, create enough chaos, enough uncertainty, enough damage to the Gulf states that the petrodollar system starts to crack. And the system is more fragile than anyone wants to admit, because it depends on the hallucination, on the belief, on the idea that America is in control. When that idea dies, the empire follows. I could be wrong. This is speculation based on game theory and economic incentives. But if my analysis is correct, then we should see specific things happen. Oil should continue rising. Gulf sovereign wealth funds should start liquidating American assets. Countries should start making oil deals outside the dollar. And the US government should start showing signs of fiscal stress. Watch for those signals. Because if they appear, the petrodollar isn't just under attack, it's dying. And the question that keeps me awake, if the petrodollar collapses, what replaces it? Because whoever controls the answer to that question controls the next century.